What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Storm Mage build in Path of Exile 2 0.3 update. This one is an absolute monster of a build, and what makes it a standout is that this is not your traditional minion army build, where you hide behind a wall of skeletons and zombies while waiting for them to do the work. Instead, this build combines the raw destructive force of the storm magic with the army of the empowered minions, curses and defensive layering that makes you feel like both a commander and a caster at the same time. The campaign experience with this character is incredibly smooth. Early on we use a combination of the flame wall and the skeletal snipers, and then you transition into the raging spirits as your first taste of the proper minion army. By the time that you reach the first interlude, then the build completely evolves into a massive minion army build. These minions don't just add damage, they will shock enemies, debuff resistances, and reduce incoming damage. It's pretty much like a small ecosystem of summons, each one contributing to your survival and the offense in different ways. And then defensively, the Storm Mage build will make the excellent use of energy shield stacking, black chance and the energy shield recovery. You're also able to apply crippling debuffs to the enemies with the curses and exposure, which effectively doubles our defense, since the monsters will spend less time alive to actually hit you. And remember, if you want to check this build, look up the best items, the skill trees and path of building, then check my link in the description. If you ever played Path of Exile 2 for long enough, then you know that the grind for currency can feel endless. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. KaidGames is a trusted platform used by over 150,000 gamers worldwide. They offer pro player support in more than top 25 games, including POE 2. No matter if you need a faster start, you want help with the tough content or just want currency delivered safely and quickly, then KaidGames has you covered. What I really like is how smooth the whole process is, from click to the gameplay in minutes, clear and fast chats with their team, plus if an order is not fulfilled you get an instant refund. I've tried it myself and honestly it just makes the game more fun. So if you wanna skip the grind and enjoy POV2 your way, then click my link in the description to check out KaidGames and use my code KAID for extra 10% off. So let's take a look at our skill gems and the transitions that we need to make. Once you transition into the mid and the late game, the build evolves into something entirely different from its early campaign setup. So at round mapping, temporarily summons like the Raging Spirits or the basic skeletal snipers will get exchanged for a full roster of powerful and permanent minions. The first and most important shift happens when you gain access to the powered zealots, specifically the spore casting variant. Binding one of these specters is a massive turning point, because it essentially replaces the need for the skeletal snipers. Then the zealot spark attack will flood the battlefield with the lightning projectiles, by scaling perfectly with our curses and ascendancy bonuses, and even providing a foundation of consistent and screen-wide coverage. From there, the army grows more specialized. Skeletal clerics will join the lineup, healing your entire minions and enhancing the effect of the master. Then skeletal storm mages become your primary debuffers, by applying shock and dramatically increasing the damage that your entire army can deal. You can also combine this with the skeletal brute, whose command skill intimidates enemies, which makes them weaker while amplifying all incoming damage. And then finally, the skeletal frost mage will contribute a vital layer of defense by casting protective ice armor that cuts down the damage that your minions take by almost 50%. By this stage, your gem setup should reflect a mature and synergetic engine. The curses like the elemental weaknesses will not only strip resistances, but also automatically summon spirits by merging utility and the offense into one smooth action. Then a nerd, which served its purpose early, is eventually replaced by the convalescence for sustain. And then when you face pinnacle bosses, projectile acceleration can be swapped for the controlled destruction to squeeze out even more devastating single target bursts. Now let's take a look at our passive tree, which is built to balance attribute requirements, minion scaling, and the energy shield defenses. Early in the campaign, you focus on picking up enough strength, dexterity, and intelligence to meet the gem and the gear requirements. And after that, the rest of the point should be directed into the strength, which naturally increases your survivability. The key early nodes include the growing swarm and the restless dead, which improve your minions' damage, defenses, and revive mechanics, by ensuring that they always are present in the combat. The crystalline flesh will later bolster your own durability with additional layers of defenses. Then Profane Commander becomes especially important once you begin running with multiple curses, as it extends the radius of your presence aura, while also granting you additional spirit to summon more minions. Then Relentless Fallen is another crucial cluster, which ramps up your minion damage and their movement speed, making them more aggressive and ensuring faster clear speed. Once you reach the post campaign and enter mapping, your priorities will shift. the tree expands into heavier investment into the maximum energy shield and recovery nodes, allowing you to sustain far more punishments while continuing to scale the minion damage. Respecs are then expected during this phase, but the padding is clear and easy to follow. Then for amulet instills, the essence infusion is the recommended choice, since it's cheap and grants additional intelligence alongside increased recharge rate. But then later, when your build is more developed, then the warlord leader becomes more premium option, by offering significant power once you can afford it. Next up we have our Ascendancy setup, and the first one that you want to take is the Soulless form. This one is essential for handling the mana degeneration, which we get from the Necromantic Condiant, but then later on, even in isolation, it adds a valuable durability, by diverting 10% of incoming damage past your energy shield and into life. Then our second pick is this Necromantic Condiant, which grants all of your minions Unholy Might. This buff converts 30% of their damage into the extra chaos damage, by turning your army into a deadlier force. The drawback of course is losing the 5% maximum mana per second, which will be mitigated early on by the Open Mind notable, and then later by the Soulless form, so the trade-off is more than worth it. Then the third choice is Eternal Life, which is one of the most powerful defensive ascendancies available. With this, you will gain immunity to poison and bleed, as long as your energy shield is active, and then when combined with the Soulless form and the heavy buffer, you reduce all incoming damage by 15%. The cost is that you cannot recover life normally, but with the Mask of the Stitch Demon, you can quickly disable your energy shield in the hideout to heal if necessary. And then finally, to round this out, we use the Crystalline Phylactery, which provides an additional Javel socket and doubles the effectiveness of the Javel placed there. This opens the door to significant scaling opportunities, especially with the late game minion and the energy shield Javels. Then next up, when it comes to the Atlas passive tree, this build thrives on consistency rather than gambling. The central cluster will connect into Essence, Jungboxes, Harvest and Delirium, and even bossing notables, all of which will guarantee reliable encounters and meaningful rewards. On the left side, we invest into the Essence and the Harvest, that ensures that you always have access to the crafting bases and deterministic upgrades. Then on the right side, the Strongboxes and Legion or Expeditions will create density and explosive loot opportunities. And then at the top, the bossing nodes like the Maven, Invocation and the Conqueror will influence your endgame progression. The key to this Atlas setup is by avoiding overextension. Instead of spreading points too thin across dozens of mechanics, it clusters around synergies that stack value together. Essence plus the Strongboxes will ensure that every map has a guaranteed loot and a monster, while Harvest gives you a way to upgrade your gear. Then Delirium will further increase the density and rewards, and the bossing nodes secure your access to the pinnacle fights. The result is an Atlas strategy that fuels steady income, consistent gear improvements and a sustainable long-term farming, without relying too heavily on RNG. Next, let's move into the gear. Your early goal is to cap all the resistances and meet attribute requirements. From there, we prioritize items that add levels to all minion skills. A scepter, helmet or amulet with this modifier is invaluable because it passively scales the damage of your entire army. A stoic scepter is fine alternative if you cannot find a rattling scepter. As you move into the endgame, you want to look for gear with increased spirit and the flat spirit bonuses. These will allow you to summon more minions simultaneously, which is a direct multiplier for your damage output. The energy shield becomes your next priority, stacking it across body armor, boots, helmet, gloves and the amulet to form the defensive backbone of the build. And eventually in the late game, you want to transition into using uniques like the Prism Guardian for the block chance, Darkness Enthroned for the socket power, and the Venter's Gamble for the spirit gain from the rings. For offensive scaling, your absolute best modifier is plus levels to all minion skills, followed closely by the spirit modifiers, increased cast speed, and crit chance or the multipliers for your minions. And then for defenses, you want to prioritize cap resistances, maximum energy shield block chance, and even increased energy shield recharge rate. And now lastly, let's see how to actually play this build. Against bosses, you want to begin by pre-buffing your Spectre with the Sigil power and casting elemental weaknesses to strip resistances. You then activate Pen Offering to empower all of your minions, then cast Frost Bomb to apply exposure, and rotate Skeletal Brute and the Skeletal Frost Mage command skills to intimidate enemies and reduce incoming damage. If a fight is really long, then you can refresh it with the Unearth or the Convalescence to maintain the constant pressure. Then in mapping, the rhythm is very fast-paced. Your Spectres and the Skeletal Mages will tear through the packs, while Raging Spirits will fill in the gaps. Every curse cast not only weakens enemies but spawns more spirits, which makes the gameplay feel like a rolling storm that never runs out of momentum. Overall, you're not just passively watching minions do the work, you're an active player by weaving curses, buffs and positioning that is equally aggressive and controlled.